вообще собирать. Море черное.
Soldiers of the Ukrainian 8th Separate Special Purpose Regiment and the 95th Air Assault Brigade used drones to destroy North Korean infantry in the Kursk Oblast of Russia. Dozens of dead and more than 100 wounded were reported as a result of the attack. The press service of the 8th Regiment released a video and stated that over the past 3 days, the Ukrainian unit killed 50 enemy soldiers and wounded 47 more during the fighting in the Kursk Oblast. During this period, the Armed Forces of Ukraine's Special Forces destroyed 2 armored vehicles, 2 cars, and 1 enemy ATV. The 95th Air Assault Brigade showed another video of repulsing enemy attacks in the Kursk Oblast. The paratroopers said that in just 2 days, the Russians had lost more than 50 personnel and over 100 soldiers were seriously wounded. Daily attempts to storm our positions continue to be in vain. There are reports that North Korean troops have arrived to assist the enemy, who persistently advance in waves, essentially acting as cannon fodder, the 95th Air Assault Brigade emphasized. At the same time, the press service noted that it will be possible to say that it was the North Korean military only after some Korean in captivity tells about his difficult fate. A slightly shorter video of FPV drones hunting for alleged DPRK military in Kursk Oblast was released by the Syndicate 95 unit of the same brigade. The day before, the press service of the 17th Separate Heavy Mechanized Brigade showed how its soldiers, together with adjacent units of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, delivered a devastating blow to North Korean infantry in Kursk Oblast. Enemy soldiers' foot convoys were attacked by artillery, including cluster munitions. In addition, the enemy was attacked with the help of FPV drones. Igor Kirillov, who was killed in Moscow, was most known recently for his statements about biolabs in Ukraine. He was also responsible for the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian defenders and developing a flamethrower system. After the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Kirillov said that a network of biolabs had been discovered there and that the Ukrainian authorities, under the pretext of fighting COVID, had sent thousands of samples related to the Slavic ethnic group to the United States for the purpose of creating biological weapons. Kirillov blamed the Pentagon for blowing up the Kakhovka hydroelectric power station dam. He claimed that the Pentagon was trying to create populations of small insects capable of carrying dangerous diseases, Ebola fever, hepatitis B, AIDS, and severe acute respiratory syndrome. Igor Kirillov is considered one of the developers of the TOS-2 Tosachka, which was later adopted for service. This is a flamethrower system using projectiles with a thermobaric or incendiary warhead. Security Service of Ukraine declared Kirillov suspected in absentia of using chemical weapons against the Ukrainian armed forces.
A network has formed on the territory of Ukraine, which includes more than 30 biological laboratories. The declared aim of the project is to study viruses capable of infecting mosquitoes of the Aedes genus. According to the terms of reference, the viral preparation was developed by the Institute in Kiev and delivered to the United States for field aerobiological research. The high technical readiness of the United States for the use of infected vectors is evidenced by a patent for an unmanned aerial vehicle designed to disperse infected mosquitoes in the air, which we mentioned earlier. According to the description, the drone is supposed to deliver a container to a specified area and release them. When bitten, the mosquitoes can infect military personnel with a dangerous infection, such as malaria. I would like to once again draw attention to the involvement of the Kharkiv Institute Veterinary Medicine to conducting work within the framework of American UPI-8 projects. During their implementation, studies were conducted on the migration routes of migratory birds, selection and transmission abroad of avian influenza virus strains. The incidence rate in the Russian Federation has significantly increased.
Oil products washed ashore in Russia's Krasnodar region after a tanker crash, the governor of the Krasnodar region said. Local residents find birds stained in fuel oil on the shore. It is reported that after the wreck of Volga-Neft 239 and Volga-Neft 212 tankers, oil products were carried ashore. Oil products were carried ashore for several tens of kilometers from the village of Veselovka in Temryuksky district to the village of Blagoveshchenskaya in Anapa. Emergency operational headquarters were deployed in 2 municipalities under the chairmanship of the MOD heads. To eliminate the consequences, groups of the regional Kuban Pantsir-S detachment and the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Russia were sent, the governor wrote. Earlier, Greenpeace warned of ecological disaster due to oil spills from Russian tankers. And Russian telegram channels report that a third Volga-neft vessel carrying 4,000 tons of mazout has reported leaking in one of the tanks. So far, mazout hasn't leaked into the sea. It's unclear whether another environmental disaster can be avoided. Shares of Russian Gazprom fell to an almost historic low of $1 per share. The fall comes amid a general decline in the Russian market. At its peak, one share of the company was worth $8.5. Gazprom shares once again collapsed amid news that the EU is not interested in further transit of Russian gas through Ukraine. For the first time in history, the share is worth less than 107 rubles. China is pushing Russia out of Kazakhstan's uranium sector. Russia is gradually losing its influence in Central Asia. A Chinese state company has bought Rosatom's shares in a Kazakh uranium mining operation and plans to acquire others. As the world's largest uranium producer, Kazakhstan accounts for 43% of global supply. Traditionally, Russia controlled the transport routes for Kazakh uranium to Europe, but sanctions have pushed Astana to seek alternatives. China, the second largest nuclear energy producer with the fastest-growing civilian reactor fleet, offers both demand and a sanctions-free transit route. In the vast Kazakh steppes, the power struggle between Moscow and Beijing is far from new. But with Russia diminished, Kazakhstan is choosing China, and the shift looks irreversible. Historically, as a former Soviet republic, Kazakhstan maintained close economic and security ties with Russia. Cooperation seemed stronger than ever when Russian-led CSTO troops intervened to suppress protests in Kazakhstan in January 2022. However, Russia's war in Ukraine has drastically altered the balance. Sanctions have made Russia's economy far less competitive, leaving China as the dominant economic partner. Last year, China overtook Russia as Kazakhstan's largest trading partner, with two-way trade reaching $41 billion. Even Kazakhstan's brief role as a hub for sanctions avoidance wasn't enough to bridge the growing economic gap. Russia has lost its credibility as a regional security provider. The war exposed Moscow's military vulnerabilities, and other neighbors have grown wary of aligning too closely with a regime that harbors colonial ambitions. This has made cooperation with China far more appealing. The optics reflect this shift. At the recent Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Astana, Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev personally welcomed Xi Jinping at the airport, an honor not extended to his longtime CSTO ally, Vladimir Putin. Tokayev, fluent in Chinese and a former diplomat to Beijing, clearly understands where Kazakhstan's future lies. China and Kazakhstan are now expanding cooperation in critical sectors like logistics. Positioned as a key hub for China-Europe trade, Kazakhstan benefits from Beijing's push to improve transit infrastructure across the region. The uranium deal underscores the scale of change. Russia's economic and geopolitical decline has forced it to cede ground to China, potentially in exchange for Beijing's tacit support of its war effort. Either way, China emerges as the clear winner, strengthening its hold over Central Asia while extracting economic and strategic benefits from Russia's weakening position.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.